Don't adjust those dials, people. This one looks a little bit different. It's happening Sunday, August 26th. Normally this would have been a solo show for me, but no longer. EMAC, what's going on?
Greetings, Josh. I'm thrilled to be doing some stuff here for Awesemo now. FanVice, we're winding down. We've been incorporated into Awesemo with all the content you guys are all used to seeing, you gals too. It should be a good one here today. Josh and I are doing the first combination show. You will be seeing a bunch more going forward, and we're just going to work things out here on the fly, and I am thrilled. Josh, I do have to say, I'm amazed by your model here that is in Excel, and I'm counting probably 24 tabs. You have lovely shades of pastel gradient colors here. When did you start using Excel, or did you commission someone to do this for you?
No commissioning. So, I mean, I've been an Excel nerd for ages. I was always doing this sort of stuff, even back, like mid 2000s, just for my own. If it was season-long baseball or season-long football. And then, slowly I picked up more and more ability in here. And then it became part of my job where I tracked finances in Excel. So I had the ability to learn even more that way. And now it's just it looks way prettier than it really is. I'm weird about having everything formatted correctly. So it makes it look fancier than it is. It's more simple than it seems behind the scenes.
All right. Well, let's just get into our Major League Baseball analysis here.
Sounds good to me.
We're going to go game by game. Very familiar with that. You're not going to have to talk completely to yourself, except for the times when I'm ignoring you. But this will be more conducive, I think, to you. So we'll go game by game. For those of you following along at home, we have a 9-game slate over there on FanDuel. We have a 10-game slate on DraftKings. FanDuel lacks the technology to get that 3 o'clock hour on their main slate, but at least they're focusing on their pricing and salaries, so that's always good. And then on Yahoo, you get the whole day, so it's kind of fun there because you do get the Sunday night baseball, and we've got Baltimore and New York over there, so that makes for a more intriguing day because a lot of times people go over and build their teams from studying all the other sites, and they forget about those 3, 4, or 5 games in the evening. But we're going to cover the main slate, so let's jump right in here. We're going to start out with the Phillies and the Blue Jays. This one is kind of interesting. We have Vincent Velasquez taking on Marco Estrada, and we don't have the lineups yet for this particular matchup, but I did take some notes here because I do like the Phillies bat. So here's my setup, Josh, and then we'll get into the amazing model and what it thinks. But I said Marco Estrada is an extreme fly ball pitcher with a 52% fly ball rate over the last, wait for it, 1,300 batters that he has faced, with a 204 ISO to lefties, a 227 ISO to righties. And because he has such a high fly ball rate, he has only a 28% ground ball rate. Since the beginning of last year, he has allowed 52 home runs. Now, that's across 55 starts, but that is the 7th most in the league amongst qualified starters. 30 have been to righties, 22 to lefties. And I want to talk about, fingers crossed, Rhys Hoskin and Carlos Santana being in the lineup because they have twin 45-plus fly ball rates, and they have some power here. I think we can flesh out a full stack if you want to get some lefties in there with Nick Williams, Asdrubal Cabrera, and then righty Maikel Franco. What say you for our very first game on Awesemo.com?
We're on the exact same page. Love the Phillies today. They are my number 3 stack on FanDuel. They are my number 3 stack on DK. And you pointed out 2 guys that I am significantly over the field on, Hoskins and Santana. Santana, really low projected ownership from us right now, only 3% on DK. I have 20, so I'm very much a believer in Carlos Santana and the rest of the Phillies bats. Great spot, prices look solid, really easy to build a lineup that goes well with another team. I don't see any barriers in pricing, so yeah, we're on the same page here. I'll be over the field on the Phillies without question. So long as they don't do something weird with the lineup when it comes out.
Which makes me a little nervous because we're 2 hours away from first pitch, and we've heard nary a peep, which generally means somebody crucial is resting. My thought is that they're figuring out what they're going to do with Wilson Ramos.
Yeah.
And they do have the DH available in Toronto for him, but he's been dealing with a wrist injury, which, of course, we know that is not good for one's power. On the other side here with the Blue Jays, the guy that intrigues me and hooked us up proper yesterday, Billy McKinney. Didn't know who he was, but he did get a home run for me on a ton of my lineups. Shout out to Fantasy Cruncher and the FanBuy soon-to-be Awesemo projection system here that had him in my crunch. What do you got here for the rest of the Blue Jays? Because Velasquez is a reasonably good pitcher, solid strikeout stuff, does allow some hard contact, does allow some power, but this is not a very exciting Toronto Blue Jays team.
I'm a little bit on the top of the order here. So you are talking about Billy McKinney. He is a guy that I have quite a bit of as of right now. And that's just sort of how it works for me when we have a lefty hitter against a righty pitcher, top of the lineup. He's 3,400. Like, that's just a crazy low price. He makes it really easy to fit in. So I've got quite a bit of Billy McKinney, quite a bit of Travis, quite a bit of Smoke. Not so much Morales, even though all he does is hit home runs right now, apparently. I'm over the field on the Blue Jays, but they're more of a secondary stack for me than a primary.
All right. That sounds good. We will continue on here because we've got a ton of other interesting games to talk about. Hey, here's the next one. It's Nathan Eovaldi. Revenge, because damn it, the Tampa Bay Rays traded him to a playoff contender. I'm sure he's angry. We have Blake Snell on the other side. So a lot of people are going to have Nathan Eovaldi in their player pool today. We don't have any bona fide aces, particularly on the two pitcher sites, but we do have a very nice collection of reasonably priced guys, but no real cheap guys either. FanDuel, different story there. We'll get to Kopech, but I suspect he will be on the majority of the rosters out there. But Eovaldi's intriguing, going against a less than formidable lineup with a couple guys that hit the ball hard with Ji-Min Choi, Tommy Pham, who's nice in righty matchups, and Jake Bauers. But the rest of these guys, I'm not all that scared of. And then on the other side, we have Blake Snell. He will be facing Boston for the fourth time this season. He has 19 innings so far, only 2 earned runs allowed. Potential for a tournament option. I just have a hard time going against the Red Sox, and it looks like they are giving JD Martinez the day off, but it's the rest of their regulars in there. Let's start with the pitching here. Either of these guys making your player pool?
I have some Eovaldi. I essentially don't have Snell, at least on DK. Let me refresh this so I have our updated ownership. They just dropped a minute or two ago. So I have 14% Eovaldi on DraftKings. I only have 1% Snell. That's a really tough strikeout matchup. A lot of guys on the Red Sox that don't K all that much. I don't really want to go against the Red Sox bats all that often anyway. Clearly a strong lineup. I do have some Snell and some Eovaldi on FanDuel, but I'm under the field in every scenario. I'm under the field on Eovaldi on both sites. I'm under the field on Snell on both sites.
Okay. And let's see, I do the cheat sheets over here at FanVice. Now we're heading over to Awesemo, where you get his report card, which is quite the thing to see. We have some nice pay premium content behind the paywall. You get us in front of the paywall, but behind the paywall, you get these awesome ownership projections that Alex, aka Awesemo, does use himself and creates them. Plus, he talks about his perfect pitch article, amongst other things. Join on up. Check us out. We're getting ready to roll out some NFL content as well. If you're just an NFL person only, you're probably not watching this show, but if you use promo code NFLA, that's A for Awesemo 20, you'll get $20 off the season-long package. Hitters from this game, I've just done a big old cross them off my list.
We're on same page again. This is fun. I'm enjoying this. I don't have Jake on the other side to just disagree with me over and over again. I have one 3-man line of Betts, Nunez, and Bogarts on FanDuel, and that's the only exposure I have to any hitters anywhere.
All right.
And we're not exactly projecting ownership here. These are two of the lowest aggregate totals on the slate, as they should be.
Of course, and it feels a little bit like a swampy trap. There's just no real upside in going leveraging against either of these pitchers, depending on where they're projected. The 7 overall combined run total here is dramatically low. Yeah. And I think we can just move along here when we say Tropicana, the hitting environment. Let's get to another hitting environment here. The Atlanta Braves, the Miami Marlins, 7.5 over under here. We have Kevin Gausman, who's going to be quite intriguing. We have Pablo Lopez, who has done great in 3 of his last 4 starts, knocking out some, playoff contenders. Except the one team that got to him, these very Atlanta Braves. Not really intrigued by him, but we do always have to make mention of anybody pitching in Miami, then Kevin Gausman creeps up my list. Yeah, we haven't really seen the strikeouts from him that we thought we were going to. They're not going to be coming with this Miami Marlins team, but also the runs are not going to be coming with this Miami Marlins team. And we want to remember, Gausman no longer pitching most of his games in the AL East and in Baltimore, the friendly confines of Camden Yards. He now gets to face the pitcher in the majority of his starts, and this is a nice ballpark upgrade for him. Gausman is probably going to be your safest cash game type pitcher on the two pitcher sites. What are you looking at from this pair of hurlers?
Let me hop back over to it. Indians lineup just came out, just in case anybody was paying attention. I have a ton of Gausman. So we're projecting 22% on DK. I've got 32. He's one of my most exposed pitchers. Second, actually, to someone we'll get to a little bit later. And then Pablo Lopez is a little chalky, which kind of surprises me.
Wait, chalky?
He's 14% expected on DK right now in our ownership projections.
Okay.
That's for the way that salary breaks out on DK today. That surprises me. I just don't see the need to go all the way down to 6,200 Pablo Lopez. I don't necessarily hate it, but I think he's more of a better real life pitcher than he is a fantasy pitcher. So I'm way under the field on Lopez, and Gausman's my guy. I'm even rocking my Braves shirt today, so people can't get mad at me about ignoring the Braves. I'm going to the Braves, at least from a pitching standpoint. Excellent.
Now, are they your team of choice?
So they are, but over the past couple of years, like, fandom has really waned for me in a sports sense. I'm cheering from whatever guys I have that can make me money much more so. But if the Braves win the World Series, I will be happy about it. They've been my team since I was 5 years old.
Very nice. For me, of course, it is the Mariners. Went to the very first game there in the Kingdome, which is no longer, back in 1977. And I moved to Washington, D.C. area about 12 years ago. So I knew bad baseball. I adopted the Nats. And the Nats have been making the playoffs, but this year they are a complete and utter disaster. So
Mariners were a fun team for me as a kid. Obviously, Griffey. I was a big Jay Buhner fan, so...
Bone, he was awesome. That hallmark was the 1995 playoffs, the refuse to lose season, where I went to the games and they beat the Yankees in the wild card series, which was back then a series and not a one game event. So a little bit different. Okay, back to this though. With regards to the hitters, I don't hate some one-offs here, but I respect Pablo enough that I don't want to stack the Braves. But we do want to mention Acuna, Inciarte, Freeman, Camargo. His price has come up, but he's definitely earned it, and he's batting in the 5-hole today. Those would be guys, if they end up in my lineup, I'm not going to kick them out, but I'm also not fist pumping if other people I'm playing have them. So it's kind of a stay away for me, and then no interest for me whatsoever in the Marlins.
Yep, I have no Marlins at all. I don't really have any Braves on DraftKings. I just have a little pack of Inciarte, Freeman, and Markakis on FanDuel, running mostly 4-3s. Well, 4-3-1, I guess, but obviously the one is implied there. And I'm getting that Inciarte, Freeman, Markakis 3-man a couple times. Nothing crazy. None of these teams are getting any real ownership, so it doesn't take a lot to be over the field if you want to be. I don't necessarily recommend it. This isn't really a great offense spot.
All right. Let's go to the Nationals. Just mentioned I love them. They're going against the New York Mets. They have not scored a run in their last 27 innings. Yes, that is 3 straight shutouts. They did have put up some runs in the 9th on Philly 4 days ago. They're a mess. However, so is Steven Matt. So I've got a lot to unpack here. So kick back for a second. I'm going to go over some stuff here, and then we'll see what the vaunted computer program is looking at for you. So I said Matt is going to be facing a Washington lineup that has been shut out for the last 3 games. We want to look at the righties in the Nationals lineup against Matt. So let's see who did make the lineup. Zimmerman is in there. I thought it was going to be Mark Reynolds, but that is okay by me. So over his last 600 at-bats against righties, he is allowing a 353 WOBA and a 226 isolated power. Clearly, Anthony Rendon, especially on DraftKings, is someone you want to look to. Ryan Zimmerman is in the mix. When another guy I don't like to play against lefties because generally he gets priced up for his ability against righties. That's Trey Turner. Now, he's getting better against lefties, but he just has 3 career home runs against lefties. Now, that said, let's look at a little bit of BVP here. He is only 3 for, I think it was 3 for 18 or 4 for 18 against Matt. So not very good. But those 4 times he's been on base have yielded 3 stolen bases. Matz has allowed 34 stolen bases in his last 36 starts. Turner leads the league in steals. Now, he's slowed down a little bit lately. At one point, he was 25 of 25. He is now 32 of 40 for successful attempts. But again, the 32 is leading the league right now. Those are the guys I really want to look at. And then Juan Soto, 3 for 5. I don't care about the BVP. I care about Juan Soto in his career this season. All of 86 at bats against lefties, a 420 WOBA, a 260 ISO. Sign me up. Sign me up. They are due for some runs today, right, Josh?
Maybe. I'm all over the map on this game. I've got weird stuff on both sites, on both sides. I don't really know how to hash it out, so I'm just going to throw it against the wall and figure out what sticks. Mets are my number 5 stack on FanDuel. Nats are my number 6. Love Turner, Rendon, Zimmerman, Soto. I'm on board there. I'm close to double the field on the Nats on FanDuel. DK's a little bit of a different story. I'm at the same level as the public. Same guys that I just mentioned. So I'm on the Nats, but I'm not super crazy about it. I'm a big Mats fan on DK today. So Mats would be the guy that I would be going down to, and I'm really nervous about that. And I wrote him up today in Spotlight Pictures, if anybody wants to check that out. Not that there's a ton of detail. You can get a lot more from me just saying it right now. We're projecting 15% ownership. I'm right there with the field. I think 6,400 is a nice price. I was happy with the amount of pitches he was able to throw in his last start. We were nervous about him being able to go deeper into the game. I'm trying to be a little pessimistic with how long he can go. I only have him in for 5 innings, and I'm still getting a decent amount of Mats. So if I were a bit more aggressive with him, I would probably be significantly over the field. I'm a little nervous about Nats bats, obviously. There's some power there, but I'm going to ride the Mats train on DK and the Nats bats on FanDuel. So I'm bound to be right somewhere.
That would definitely be one way to do it there. I do see the appeal for the price point, and yes, the Nationals have definitely fallen apart here. I like these guys, and I think we can get some duos, trios. I'm not overly worried about forcing in a full stack for what I am trying to do today. The other thing I do want to point out is the Mets bullpen is not that great. They've got a couple former Nationals in there, of all things. The Nats have a horrible bullpen this year. Now, they've been beset by injuries, but every player that was on their team last year and is now elsewhere seemingly is doing quite well.
Yeah.
So who knows? Who knows? From the other side here, and this is where I'm curious what you have. The Mets, the hashtag LOL Mets, as I like to say, are a mess. I mean, we've got Austin Jackson, we have Jose Bautista, we have Todd Frazier, we have Jay Bruce. These guys were great 7 years ago. I don't know about this Sunday. And then the younger talent is Michael Conforto, who has just been lost at the plate, has not had as much pop this year as he did last year, been dealing with a variety of injuries, perhaps a little bit of a slump just as the league is figuring him out somewhat, and no protection in the lineup. Rosario, McNeil, nobody's really intriguing here, but oh God, what's the kid's name that's pitching? Jeffrey
Rodriguez.
I wanted to make sure I got that right. I was going to say Lopez, and I'm like, no, different game. Jeffrey Rodriguez is. I mean, what has he got? 30 or 40 innings this far. Nothing really exciting. So, unfortunately, I'm not really playing anybody from the Mets or the Nationals pitching. Did your crunch give you anybody from the Mets?
Yep, have them both. So. I don't have the Mets at all on DraftKings, outside of like one-off 5-man stack. On FanDuel, however, they're 5th for me. Double the field. Lots of McNeil, lots of Conforto, lots of Frazier, lots of Bruce. They're just super cheap. Check off a second base and third base option, so they fit in really well. I like getting 3 out of 4 lefties in that stack against Rodriguez. However, I also have quite a bit of Rodriguez on DK as an SP2 option. We're only projecting 2% ownership. I like him a little bit as a spend down option. I generally prioritize bats a little bit more on DK, so that's why I tend to get to one or two pretty low priced SP2s, and Rodriguez is that guy. I'm so weird on this game that I don't even know really how I feel about it. Something's going to hit, clearly, and I will pat myself on the back as if I called it, but I have bites at the apple from every different angle today.
All right. Speaking
That's
of
not
bites,
helpful at all for anyone. I realize that.
Well, here's how I'm gonna feather that in. So the chat here was asking a question on what is my style of gameplay. Now I've changed a lot over the years. For me, it's always about fun. That's my most important takeaway from daily fantasy sports. I've been doing this since 2011, and the game has changed dramatically. We have a lot of good information out there, a lot of different ways to approach things, and particularly with baseball, I do love the variance, and it gets I'm willing to absorb it. One thing I've been doing this year is DK put out a challenge. It's their milestone challenge, and you get their crowns, which were used to be their player points. You get those as you get a certain number of home runs or a certain number of strikeouts and games played and number of days you've played and all this fun stuff. So it's kind of a fun thing. It's a game within the game for nerds. And I found this about probably 2 weeks into the season. And I looked at it and I said, you know what? I bet I could get the 50,000 home runs you need. I bet I could get the 500,000 strikeouts that you need. But everything has to be a unique lineup for it to count. So if you ran 100 lineups, but they were all the same, and somebody hit a home run, you got one home run. Okay. If you had differentiated lineups and you'd locked in one guy that hit a home run, then you get 100 home runs. So this is kind of interesting. So I've been mucking around in the low dollar tournaments for the entire season. I've been playing the smaller leagues, the quarters, the dollars, etc. And while I don't crunch a whole player pool, I do it in sections. So I will say, all right, I'm playing for a bunch of tickets, and I know here's the popular guys. I'm going against them because it's basically a winner take all. And if you turn your quarter, your dollar into a $20 ticket or a $40 ticket, whatever it is for the millionaire makers and stuff, it's a lot of fun. The cool thing is if you meet all of their milestones for the home runs, which I've already cleared, I think I totaled just shy of 400,000 crowns, and then I'm closing in on the 500,000 strikeouts, which will be the equivalent of another 400,000. So I'm going to get about the equivalent of $1,200 worth of player points this year, which is fun. Yeah. I'm going to see if they'll turn them into tickets or something for me, because I don't want to sit there clicking the button over and over and over. But this is just a fun game. I don't know that I would recommend doing this again. For me, it's a labor of love at this point. It's a challenge. It's a milestone. If they have it next year, I don't know that I do it. But at this point, I'm running about 400 lineups a day. So, and keeping them all unique. So I'm playing all the different slates, playing the different game styles. That's helping out a bit. But back to this. So I'll look at the different, what kind of a contest I'm in. Well, if I'm in one that's going for a ticket, it's very top heavy, then I'll do different things. So I'll set up, okay, for these 20 lineups, I'm going to do this. And then I'll go do something else for here. This one is, more of a flatter payout. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go more with the popular stuff that I'm doing. But this has been a fun thing, but oh, good God. It takes a lot of time to stay organized. So that's what I've been doing. They also, and just for perspective, they also have the DraftKings leaderboard within this, and you get points for each of the contests you've played in and won. I think I'm ranked 90th overall. Nice. So you'll see Osmo, I think, is third. Tom, I think, is seventh or eighth. And I'm there in 90. So it's kind of been fun. It's like, wow, I've really been playing a lot this year. But essentially, I'm playing a couple $100 a day, and every single day, though, because I want to make sure I get these bonuses. So anyway, that's just kind of a long story. I only bring that up because they've said they're going to do something similar for NFL. And that's a fun sport where you can utilize the optimizers, projections, and play in these low-dollar contests and go all over the place. And just have a lot of fun with it. So anyway, neither here nor there, but just a little side point. And you guys, if you're part of Osmo, you now have the Slack chat, and you would know all about this and my triumphs and travails of what I've been doing, because people are following along here. So just to see if it can be done. So anyway, there we go. But let's get back to the games here. Okay. We've got a couple more lineups have come out. Not to fear, Josh and I will be updating our various projections, ownership percentages, etc. Let's go to the White Sox and Tigers. we've got Michael Kopech. This is going to be a big talking point going against Jordan Zimmerman. Zimmerman has been relatively solid this year, though not spectacular. We do like the matchup him going against the White Sox for him because there's really a bunch of nobodies now that Jose Abreu's out, and Avisel Garcia's already said he needs to have knee surgery when the season's over because he's got some issues there. So we're looking at Palka, Davidson, a limited Avisel Garcia, and Yohan Moncada maybe as the only tough guys. Zimmerman doesn't always have the upside we're expecting. He does have a home run, he does have a no-hitter to his name, but that was many moons ago with the Nationals. Kopech on the other side, love the price point, 9,800 on DraftKings. Going to make it a decision, should keep things suppressed. I'm curious to hear the ownership percentage.
Mine or the public?
The public, the Osimo number, and yours. There are 3 numbers I want to hear on DraftKings.
Right now on DK, he's at 2%.
What?
And on my most recent crunch, I'm there. I've got 8% now. So I'm on Team Kopech on DK now that some of these lines have come out. I wasn't as much on my first draft, but now, yeah, I've got 8%. So 4 times the field. And I don't see him going I would guess maybe 5% would be his ceiling in exposure. I don't think people are going to get there.
I'm internally doing cartwheels right now because I'm no longer limber enough to do them for real because I'm going to have about 30% on DraftKings.
I get it.
So I like this. I like this a lot.
I mean, he has real electricity in his arm. He's a perfect GPP play.
Interesting. I'm very excited for this. I'm very, very excited. So what is the sorry, I was reading the chat here. What was the projection for the field on FanDuel where he is a mere 6,400?
This one actually did surprise me. So we have him at 9% right now on FanDuel. Now this is where I'm with you. I've got 24% on FanDuel. I can't imagine not having a ton of him there. He's 6,400. I would play him a ton at 8,400 on FanDuel. So I'll happily take the 6,400 and then fit in basically every single bat that I could possibly want.
Excellent. Over on Yahoo, he's kind of right in the middle there. He's $37. So that one's kind of interesting. I do like to play on Yahoo because I hand build those lineups, which is what I used to do always. Now I'm more utilizing the Fantasy Cruncher optimizer and projections as I'm managing 300 to 400 lineups per day. So my
I don't
traditional
think you can build 350 of those by hand.
No, it's not worth it. And at this point, I don't even fight who's popping up in the crunchers. Now I go through and limit a lot of my player pools. I make each one of these little segments, and I generally build them between 20 and 50 to finish that thought out. Because I see someone's asking, is it better to play one $100 lineup or $400 or 400 lineups worth your $100? And I would say in baseball, you can approach it different ways and a lot of it depends on what the slate is. If there's going to be a lot of offensive spots on the slate, then I definitely want to build a lot because you don't know which offense is going to go off. Yeah. And you want to have a piece of it. And if you get everything right, these contests are just so top heavy now. Even if 2 or 3 of your lineups, percent of your lineups are doing well, you can easily make back double, triple what you've got out there. If it's a slate where there's a lot of good pitching, for those I like to go over and I would consider more of a single entry, hand built, and then I would try to be different. I would not try to be what the field is. I would not be stupid, which is sometimes what you need to do, or not stupid, but you need to just close your eyes and click buttons on the Sunday night showdown slates, right? Because otherwise you're going to be the same as everybody else. But you can find a couple spots to get contrarian, and you can say, all right, I think, like today, for example, I would say, man, a lot of people are going to be on Bieber. We're going to talk about him. I would look to the Kansas City lefties. I would say, all right, well, I'm going with Duda. I'm going with, anybody else that's in that lineup and has power. That right there will probably make me different enough that you can then put in, if you're on FanDuel, you're going to be playing Wrigley Field. If you're on DraftKings, you play Wrigley, or you can play Coors Field. So that would make you different enough. And we've already seen. I mean, Duda didn't do diddly squat on Friday. Hits a home run yesterday off of Kluber. And we got a guy who gives up a ton of power to lefties today. So you got to think within that and say, all right, that's the scenario I see, and then play it out and just be accepting of, hey, there's my one lineup. But don't just put everybody in. Just go play a single entry 50-50 if you're going to play something that's really, really chalky. Otherwise, have a reason for what you're doing, what you're doing. All right. See, this is the fun stuff that we get to talk about.
I love it, man. I love it. This is great.
Okay, back to the games, though. So Zimmerman, Kopech, I do like Kopech a lot, as we've mentioned. I don't really see a reason to take any of these hitters against him for Detroit. Nick Castellanos is the only guy that's kind of popped up in anything that I've looked at, but he's just coming in on my non-Kopech lineups. So I'm not fired up on that. On the other side, Palka and Davidson would kind of be my one-offs. Is Jordan Zimmerman coming up in your player pool at all?
I got maybe one line, potentially two on DK, and that's it. Not a guy that usually pops up for me. Just doesn't miss enough bats. He's usually somebody I target against, which I kind of am today.
All right. We ready to move on? We've got five more games. This is what happens when you're talking. You let me talk, I go down the rabbit hole.
Look, it's the first time we're doing this, so
you need to ring a little bell or something. Like, knock it off, Emac. Shut up. This is not what people want to hear. So.
Look, we can sit here for hours if you want. I don't really have anything else to do. All right. Sunday slate. That's just it's like having Sunday dinner, but at 11:30 in the morning. We're just here to converse.
I do like that comparison. Moving along here, we've got our 2:00 games coming up. We have the Oakland Athletics, the Minnesota Twins, a little bit of weather potential there. I am not playing either of these pitchers. Don't really know what's going on with Jose Berrios, and Chris Bassett, a.k.a. the Hound, is not someone I want to attack. I almost considered playing him at 5,300, but for me, this is just going to be a cross-off game. I am, of course, playing the 2 p.m. slate on DraftKings because I got to get this stuff in for my game within the game. But outside of that, I don't think I'll have anybody from this lineup. What do you got? Does anything stand out here? Going against either of these pitchers just doesn't feel like the optimal solution.
Yeah, I'm under the field on the bats across the board, every site, every combo. I have little bits of the Twins and the A's on FanDuel, but no sort of volume. I do have a little bit of the Hound, though, on DK. We're projecting 4%. I've got 9. Just another guy, low price, that I'll take a flyer on. Most of the time, I'm looking for those guys to just not kill me, and I'm comfortable with that, especially with the Twins. I'm not terribly nervous about Twins bats. The implied totals look really good. So you were not on Berrios today?
No, for me, and let me just credit my credits. So basically, he's had some phenomenal games. He has some amazing upside, but he's also had some just duds out of nowhere. And I respect the Oakland Athletics enough with their power and upside that I am not going to go there. Now, I will say in my shell lineup, I did have Berrios when I first made them last night, just kind of as my placeholder. And I started looking at it more and more and more. And he's made it to finished 5 innings once in his last 3 starts. I think there was a little bit of weather in one of them, but he's gone 4, 3 2/3, and 5. He has 13 strikeouts, which we like to see over that time frame, but he's also allowed a home run in each game and multiple walks, just going back down his game log, 2, 2, and 6 in these. So you need a strikeout to erase a walk, particularly on the sites that do the whip, which is walks plus hits divided by innings pitch, etc. But on DraftKings, you lose points when you give up base runners. So I can't get there with him in this particular matchup.
I'm under the field, but I do have a little bit of him.
When he has his moments, he could be a slate breaker type score. I mean, you don't have to scroll that far back into his game logs to see 30 DraftKings point games. And I can totally see it. This will be another one where this is like how you're kind of like, I don't know what to do with Matt. I don't know what to do with Berrios, so I am just ignoring him for the time being.
I get it.
All right. Next game, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Milwaukee Brewers. We have Chris Archer, we have Chase Anderson, and I've got some more notes here. So let's talk about Chase Anderson first. He has a lot of BVP against him from the Pirates. Now, I know that is not the end-all, be all, but it is something to take note, particularly if we look at Starling Marte, 480 average, 2 home runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 2 walks, 2 Ks, 5 stolen bases. That's pretty good. Gregory Polanco, yeah, he's only 6 for 30. 4 of those are home runs. One's a double, one's a single. So he makes the most of it. The steals against Anderson. So Anderson has allowed 20 stolen bases since 2017. Do we have that lineup? Who is the catcher? Yes, thank you. It is Manny Pena. Manny Pena has allowed 63 stolen bases in 99 attempts since last year. So people are going to be running today. Then the other bonus is Anderson's allowed 26 home runs this season, which is the 3rd most in the league. Now that's over 25 starts, but that's a little more, it's 1 per game. Yeah. But 17 have come to righties, 9 to lefties. So I think we can target up and down the lineup here with the Bucks. We particularly the top 6 are where I'm going here, and anybody with the ability to run a little bit, which of course is Marte, Frazier, and Polanco. I really think those guys are going to go overlooked.
We're on the same page with the Pirates. I love them today. Number 4 on FanDuel for me. Number 7 on DK. I'm double the field on FanDuel. Close to it on DraftKings. Love Dickerson, Marte, Polanco. The top is really where it's at. I like Josh Bell quite a bit, but he's a guy that pops up a lot for me just in general. So I'm not that I have like a personal bias towards Josh Bell, but he is a guy that grades out well for me more often than not, even when he shouldn't. I like having the Pirates though. They're definitely the top 3 are definitely a primary for me, and then I'm happy to fill it out with really anybody. Cervelli as a catcher option, I like it just because he's hitting 4th. Anytime I can get a catcher higher up in the order, I'm happy. The only downside is really having the top 3 guys be outfielders.
There is that, and then the other issue, of course, is that the Brewers do have a pretty good bullpen. Now, we're counting on some stolen bases, and pitchers can give up stolen bases and still stay in the game because the manager's not going to be getting angry about that. The manager gets angry about 2 home runs in an inning, but 2 stolen bases, it can happen, and it's just not going to draw their ire. The other thing that we do want to remember is Milwaukee is only 4.5 games out of the lead in the Central. They're in the mix. They're tied, or a half game back from the Cardinals, 4 back from the Cubs. So, we could potentially see Anderson with a bit of a short hook. I'm still in on the Pirates today for me. On the other side here, Josh, we have Chris Archer, and I just don't think he's healthy. I think there's somewhat of a flaw in his mechanics, which isn't helping him because he just pounds the strike zone. Now, he's only gone 18 1/3 innings in his last 4 starts. Wow, that's not much. Looking at a little deeper, 3 of those he's thrown 95 pitches or more. So he's staying in there. He is just not the Chris Archer in Tropicana Field that we are used to.
Yeah, they've been letting him get chewed up lately.
Yeah, and which just is bizarre. They let now I'm blanking on his name. The guy that moved over to Houston, and then they get Archer, and they gave up more than they got for their guy off to Houston. I don't know. The Pirates are a mess.
Yeah, but it was that I didn't totally understand what they were doing there. I can't. But 4.6 implied run total. I think this is another way you can go different from Coors Field or Wrigley. Don't forget that the Miller Park is one of the best offensive environments and gets completely overlooked all the time from that standpoint. Where are the Brew Crew in your analysis? Nowhere near the top, that's for sure. I don't have much Milwaukee. I'm under the field on both. Public's not really on them on DK. There's a little bit more juice for them on FanDuel. Moustakas is pretty popular, 10%, which is kind of surprising to me because he's hitting 6th. I wouldn't have expected him to get that much juice that far down the lineup without having the rest of the team be chalky. I can see it if we're really not believing in Archer, but I'm too nervous about Archer just being good today to get to Milwaukee.
All right.
This game just keeps me nervous. Outside of Pittsburgh bats.
Okay. And completely fair. Completely fair. What I think is happening is Models are giving Archer credit for past performance and not as much as kind of what's going on now. I think Archer's going to be someone we're going to play a bunch next year. Yeah. Coming off the off season, still a nice park in Pennsylvania there, and he'll be going against the pitcher as a hitter and not the AL East DHs. So someone will definitely want to look to, just kind of not here right now. They want to know who your old guy grandpa is. On the thing.
I saw it in the chat and I laughed. I was hoping we would get to it.
Very nice there. Well, Loose Screw, I am known as your old pal EMAC. I've been around for a long time. I've provided content for a variety of sites. Roto Grinders, DK Playbook, Roto World, FanDuel when they had their information. Worked at FanVice. I've done some one-off stuff for some people, and here I am at Osmo.com. I have been playing fantasy baseball. This is my 28th season of fantasy baseball. So just throwing it out there. Been doing this for a while. Seen it all.
That's longer than Jake's been on this planet.
That is. I can't wait to do a show with Jake. That will be a dichotomy, my friend. That will be a dichotomy. Looking back to our task at hand, we've got the Biebs. We've got Shane Bieber. And if his name was anything else, I think he would get a little more credibility from the DFS world. So I'm fine just saying, yep, I'm rolling with the Biebs here. I just, when I think of him, I picture Justin Bieber, and it's it's probably not helping him. Now, our big concern with him, he's only got 320 major league players or major league hitters that he's faced. He's getting tattooed by lefties. 170 plate appearances, 388 WOBA, 235 ISO. He is striking them out 25%. That is really, really good. But more fly balls than we'd like to see. Gives up a ton of hard contact, 48%. So half the hits are fly balls, and the third of them half the hits are hard, and the third of them are fly balls. So that is a recipe for potential disaster until we start looking at the lineup and say, well, who could we consider against him? Well, Duda, who we mentioned earlier, and then Ryan O'Hearn. That's it. There we go. Because I'm not scared about Phillips. Alex Gordon he's more likely to get a stolen base than a home run, and he's not really going to do either today. So that's landing me on the Biebs and Kopech today. God, the only thing better than late summer baseball is when the September call-ups hit next week.
Coming soon.
It just goes all to hell in a handbasket. But today I'm playing the Biebs. What are you looking at for your player pool?
We're playing the Biebs as well. 24% for me on DK. That's 10% higher than the public. I've got 20% on FanDuel. I'm 8% higher than the public. So I'm on Team Biebs today. We were talking about his struggles with lefties, lots of hard contact given up. I wonder how that's going to hash out, because he does have a really high BABIP, 398 against lefties so far. That's going to happen when you're giving up 49% hard contact to lefties. But I wonder if there's a little bit of unluckiness just to his lefty stats. At least I hope so. You can't keep getting beaten up like that by lefties, or you're going to become a righty specialist reliever pretty quickly.
Here we are. Here we are, gamers.
I end up with Bieber a lot. So today is no different. I've got the Biebs. Bieber fever in this live stream today.
I'm a believer. All right. We've got Jorge Lopez on the other side. I have zero interest in him. Not a ton of action so far this year. He's only gone against 130 batters, but he has 5.3 xFIP, a 13.8 walk rate. Oh, we're riding with the tribe today. I think you can look up and down the lineup. Let me see. I thought I did some notes on them. Here we go. Let's see. Jorge Lopez is going to be overmatched with Cleveland, boasting a 5.8 implied run total. He has tallied 138 pitches over his last two starts. He's only allowed one home run, but 5 walks, 18 total base runners in 9.2 innings. Yeah, we're going to be rolling. We're going to be rolling with the Indians here. And then the The other guy, he's priced up on some sites. He's cheap on some, but Allen there, Greg, I was going to say George, which is a completely wrong sport and time frame. He did not get a hit yesterday, but so that means he's got hits in 15 of his last 17 games. So
Okay.
just saying, yeah, he's like if anybody remembers Joey Cora, that would be Alex Cora's older brother. He played for the Mariners, but he had two of their longest hitting streaks, and I think he was a career like 260 hitter. He would literally go 1 for 3 or 1 for 4 every day, and it would be a single. Yeah, it would be a single. But just saying, it is kind of cool that somebody's got hits in that many games because it means they're on base and they can either run for a stolen base or they can get knocked in. So just putting it out there because that's your key to the wraparound stack, which a lot of people aren't going to do. And Cleveland is one of the best teams to do that with because you usually get a cheap outfielder at the bottom or you'll get their catcher, and you can always start with their catcher and work your way back around to Lindor. So what say you for Cleveland?
Yeah, they're obviously going to be a little chalky. I think we're projecting the second most ownership on FanDuel and fourth on DK. But I'm eating that chalk. This is too good of a spot. I love the top of the order. Lindor, Brantley, Ramirez, and Encarnacion might be the best four-man combo to top a lineup in baseball. I have a lot of Roberto Perez on DK. I like having a catcher as part of my stacks just because they're tough to one-off unless they're naturally good hitters like a Gaddis or somebody where it's not so much that they're an actual catcher. But if I'm going to have Perez, I like having him. I'm not with you on Greg Allen. I usually don't end up with a ton of 9-hole hitters just from the way like the discount of projected plate appearances ends up catching them too much, especially at 4,100. I don't mind it. Like I would probably have more Greg Allen if I were building a lineup by hand than I would from the automation. Most of my exposure, though, is in the top 4. No surprise there. And then Kipnis a little bit on both sites. He's just underpriced. I like getting low-priced guys at premium positions, again, as part of stacks, similar to having a catcher. So, love the Indians. Number 2 on FanDuel, number 4 on DK for me.
Yep. Kipnis stands out at second base on Yahoo, $10. Anytime you're getting somebody 10 or below that's got a pedigree like that, you want to look to those guys because it's all about building your lineup there with the top pitching for the day, and their pricing can be a little bit wonky if you are not used to it. So again, that's where I like to go do some hand-built lineups because it's gets you back thinking because you can only do 10 in a contest.
Yeah.
So build 10 of those, and it's you all of a sudden you're like, oh, my DK lineups aren't doing good. You're like, oh, sort of my semi-contrarian lineups are catching big here, but very nice, very nice. So I took down the big Friday tournament about 2 months ago there. So that 5K has been a very nice wave to ride here as
sure.
we and I've been frugal with it. So I'm going to have some fun for football. We're turning loose all the player points and the money for football season. So.
Yeah, I'm ready to light my money on fire for football. I can't wait.
Yes, and that's what it is because I've got the perfect lineup, and my quarterback just got dinged, or the left tackle's out, so now the line is crumbling, and my running back's getting contact 2 yards before he crosses the line of scrimmage. Screw everything. So, but that's NFL. You got the red zone, you got a couple beers. It's a good time. Reminder, Awesemo content, season, NFL only. Use the promo code NFLA20. That's NFLA for Awesemo 20. Get $20 off. That's good up until the end of the month here. And then that little deal is going away. So jump on in for that one. All right, so now we're kind of anything else from this game that you would like to mention? Because we've got dessert coming up here.
No, not really. I'm not touching the Royals, not touching Lopez. It's all Bieber and the Indians for me.
Okay. The next 2 games, 21.5 implied run total. Let's start off in Wrigley Field. We've got the wind heading out a little bit there to left center. It's approaching, it won't get there, but it's approaching 90 degrees and it's humid. Oh God, it's home run weather. We've got Homer Bailey, we've got Kyle Hendricks, and we've got the Cubbies. I present to you the Cubbies and Daniel Murphy, who finally is healthy for the first time this season. He has home runs in his last 2 games and yet again, excellent BVP against Homer Bailey. So is it going to be 3 in a row for the Murph?
I hope so, because I'll be over the field on him. Yeah, I'm eating all of the Cubs chalk tonight. I can't imagine not doing it. Everything looks like there's just too many runs. I've got him at a 6.1 run implied total right now, tops of the slate. It's everything points to this being a huge offensive day in Chicago. So I assume they'll score 1 run.
We will see. It was 16 runs in yesterday's afternoon game, and we've got essentially the same conditions here. Bailey has just not been good this season. 400 batter space. He's relatively splits neutral with the 380 WOBA to both-handedness, 265 isolated power to lefties, 193 to righties. He does not strike anybody out at 15% combined. He doesn't walk anybody. Why doesn't he walk anybody? Because the ball is constantly in play. Now he does, not as many fly balls as you'd like to think from Homer Bailey, but 40% hard hit rate. It's a mess. 25% line drive rate. So we like that because in an environment like Wrigley Field, those can sometimes turn into home runs because we have the good hitting conditions. So if it's a nice screaming high line drive, that goes out of the park, whereas it might just be a double anywhere else. So this is going to be interesting. If you were looking up and down this lineup, I think we can agree that the priority would probably be Rizzo, Baez, Murphy, I think, now that he's seemingly looking good. Those are my key 3, but I also think that Kyle Schwarber is someone that's going to get lost in the shuffle today.
Yeah, the lefties are definitely the priority here. I wish Schwarber wasn't hitting 7th. I feel like you should flip-flop Hayward and Schwarber in this lineup. That's just me. Schwarber killed me like a week or 2 ago. Cubs broke out. Schwarber had 2 at-bats with bases loaded, couldn't get anything done, and that probably would have put me at the top of a couple tournaments. So I'm a little mad at him right now. I'm under the field a little bit on DK, so I think that's how I'm paying him back by not rostering him as much. I love everything, though. I'm over the field on Murphy. I'm over the field on Rizzo. I'm over the field on... who else? Contreras. Contreras is probably the best catcher option of the day overall. Anytime that you can get Bailey in a 6.1 run implied total and your catcher hits 4th, it's going to look pretty good. I love everything on the Cubs except for Almora. Again, I don't get to him all that often. I did just bump up the line, so when I originally did my projections, the Cubs line wasn't out yet, so I had 9.5 in. I have bumped it up, so I'm re-crunching DK right now. And when that comes out, I'll probably have a little bit less Hendricks because I was pretty high on him. And I'll have even more of the Cubs than I do right now.
I'm looking at Hendricks' numbers here, and you always forget, he doesn't give up a ton of power.
No.
I mean, he basically shuts down righties, which to be expected, but even lefties, 321 WOBA, a 170 ISO, and that's going against the, almost 600 over the last 2 seasons. So 23% strikeout rate against lefties. He's solid. Schebler is the one guy I want to bring up because he, if I remember correctly, 3,700 on DraftKings. I think that is a nice price. He's back from, he was out with a 10-day DL. Doesn't say.
I can't remember what it was.
But anyway, so he's back. We do like him. He's someone that's going to go a little bit overlooked. Little lineup bump there, batting 5th because, of course, no Joey Votto. Suarez would be the other guy I'd consider, but it just feels a little bit futile going against Hendricks with a righty. So while we do like the game here, the Reds just have a 3.6 implied run total. That's just not good. While I don't want to play Hendricks because he doesn't really go more than 6 innings and change. He doesn't get a ton of strikeouts. He's a great real life pitcher. I wish he was on the Nationals, but I'm not going to play him for DFS. You had said your crunch liked him a little bit. Anything you want to expound on with that?
It liked him a lot of bit. I'm pasting in the new one now just to see, just so I could talk about it legitimately though. But I was like 3 times the field when I woke up this morning. I wasn't comfortable with that because I knew where it was taking me, but here we go. We've got the refresh in. Okay, so I have a lot less now that the total has jumped up. So I have 16% on DK. I'm actually way over the field on FanDuel. I have 19%, so a little bit over double the field. I just don't have a lot of respect for the Reds bats. There's not a ton of power. Billy Hamilton's steamer ISO projection, 0.094. Peraza, 0.103. There's just so little potential damage in all of the guys that can get those extra plate appearances that I like having Hendricks. He feels as safe as someone could possibly feel in a game with a 10-run implied total.
All right, chat is fun here. I'm scrolling back here. Loose Screw is going to be soon to be my new favorite commenter. Says EMAC is a pimp name. Are you a former pimp or sugar daddy? Hey, can't we be both currently?
Yeah,
come on. And then someone else says, "Yo, I can look him up on FanDuel and Yahoo." Well, my username over on both is EMAC because I've been around since the beginning of this stuff. And good. Lucky for me, my nickname ended up being my screen name, so that works out well. I don't have to have a bunch of numbers or anything behind it, but we'll see there. Anything else from this game if you're that you want to talk about, or shall we leave the FanDuel peeps behind and talk about Coors Field?
Yeah, let's say goodbye to the FanDuel peeps.
All right. Goodbye, FanDuel peeps. Of course, we're going to talk summary quick here at the end, so you may want to stick around for that. We have Austin Gomber. We have Tyler Anderson. Anderson has actually pitched better at home this season. Sub-4 ERA, 5 ERA on the road. He does have some strikeout upside, but he is facing the vaunted nearly all right-handed lineup, save for Matt Carpenter and Gomber himself. That makes it a little bit tricky. Intriguing price point, but I don't really want to go there. I'm not overly fired up for the Cardinals. I think they are appropriately priced on the dynamic pricing sites. So I'm letting it be catch as catch can. I will probably have a couple stacks just here and there because, hey, it's Coors Field. And last night caught me off guard. It was like 1-1 in the 8th. So I was like, this is a horrible game. I turned it off, took the dog out, was getting ready for bed, brushed my teeth. And I looked at my phone. I'm like, 9-1? When did that happen? I missed the 8 runs in the 9th inning. It's Coors Field. It's Coors Field. So we like those guys. I've heard a few people mention Gomber. I'd be a little bit nervous about utilizing him. And the main reason is this is playoff implications. So the Cardinals, as we kind of mentioned earlier, are right there with the Cubs. The Rockies are tied with the Diamondbacks at the top of the West. And then both these teams are actually in wild card contention if they don't manage to get their berth from their division. So this one is, we could see bullpen, we could see some strategy. We're getting to the point of where every game's really starting to count here. But then again, you think back and it's like, yeah, it's Coors Field. Come on, Emac. We got to play some of them. What is the crunch going to here with the Cardinals for your DraftKings lineups?
I love the Cardinals today, actually. They are my 6th ranked stack on DK. I'm close to double the field. Lots of Matt Carpenter, lots of Molina, tons of Jose Martinez. He's a guy that I end up getting a lot of when I have the Cardinals. The dual eligibility is something that really is that's a drawing thing for me. So the top 5 is where I'm most concentrated for the Cardinals, and they fit really well. Dual eligibility on Carpenter, dual eligibility on Jose Martinez, a catcher, a shortstop. You can run the Cardinals with just about any other team and make it work. Concur.
Just we'll see. I'm sure they will be landing in some of my lineups. We'll see. On the other side, one thing I wanted to complete the thought on. If we got 2 lefties, but we've got a ton of righties in the bullpens for either side. So it's really not going to matter as much for Matt Carpenter because, hey, he's Matt Carpenter. But you want to keep that in mind if you start considering Blackman or even a David Dahl. I've seen him kind of projected to be in the bottom third of the order on a couple sites. If he's in, there's a good chance he's going to be facing a righty for 2 of his 3 at-bats today. So that's something you always want to consider, especially if you're going to – I love DJ LeMahieu. I think he's a great player. He's always in the top 10 for batting average. Doesn't have a lot of pop, and I like him better against lefties. Too many singles, not enough extra base hits against righties. If a righty comes in, that downgrades him. Downgrades Story and Arenado a tiny bit, only because they're at their freaking apex price point right now. But it gives a boost to Charlie Blackmon, who's fine against lefties, and then he's amazing at home against righties. So just thinking through those next steps, and when you've got a couple pitchers here, that it wouldn't surprise me if these two pitchers combined for just 9 total innings today.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It wouldn't shock me at all. I barely have any Anderson. I don't have any Gomber. I'd like to know if I'm a little crazy here. So we're projecting Matt Holliday in the 5-hole for the Rockies at 3% ownership. I have a little bit more than that. I have 2 threes, as in 33% Matt Holliday right now. He's hitting my ownership caps. $4,100 outfielder. He's just so easy to use today. I can't imagine he's only going to be 3% owned. He's a way to make the Rockies stack so much cheaper. I might want to mute 33%. I don't think I need 10x leverage on the field. And then that's something that I will tweak out as we get closer to lock. But where do you stand on Matt Holliday? You a fan?
I love him. I love him because he's back where it all started.
Yeah. Pinch hit Dong last night.
Yeah, a pinch hit home run last night. It's been kind of a fun homecoming. The crowd's all totally into it because he spent first 5-6 years of his career there in Coors Field, and I remember he had a monster a couple years with well over 100 RBI, and then I looked this up when I saw that he was going to get called up. I thought he played for Oakland for a couple years, but he only played for Oakland for part of a season, and then he went over to St. Louis, and then he played for St. Louis forever, and then had hey, I'm old, I'm going to cash a check from the Yankees for a playoff run thing. But yeah, he's back. Why not? Why not? I see no wrong. 4,100. Come on, we got to do it, right? 38 years old. So
look, he gets a righty lefty matchup. He's probably not going to have a better spot for the entire year than right now. To get him in a game where you have close to a 6-run implied total at a price barely over 4,000, and he's hitting in a spot in the order that he should get opportunities with guys on, I can't find much more other than the fact that he's just kind of not been around this season. That's really the only deterrent. I love it today. Yeah.
So we shall see. That's one of the hills I'm going to be standing on.
Yeah.
The support group will be meeting at about 4:45 today when he gets pinched at 4.
Sure.
We'll see what happens. Be a nice double switch opportunity, and all of a sudden, hopefully he'll have hit a home run before that. But we'll see what happens. All right. So our first show together, how do you guys kind of generally wrap up the old Osmo TV here? Do you do one last crunch? Do you do any highlights? What guide your new Sherpa here?
We can do 2 quick things. One, we have a gimmick during our live streams where we need to pick a guy that we think is going to hit a home run today.
Okay.
Free to pick anybody, obviously. We've been tracking it myself, Chris, and Jake over all of our live before lock streams. It's preposterous because of the odds of someone hitting a home run, but it's fun. Chat gets involved. So I will lead off. I'm going to make my home run pick now.
Okay.
I generally like to pick after Chris and Jake so that I control them by taking another guy from that team. It makes the home run sting a little bit more. So I like that. Jake is taking Anthony Rendon per the chat. I don't want to go to the Nats, so I'm not going to troll Jake. I don't really see a ton of guys that jump off for me that I like, but I got to go to the Wrigley win game. I'm going to go to Anthony Rizzo.
Okay. I'm a little sad that Ryan Zimmerman is in because I would have trolled Jake with Mark Reynolds in the lineup. So that would have been mine. I'm actually going to go with Lucas Duda against Shane Bieber. We've got the Bieber fever, we've got all of that, but Duda profiles so well to run into one. And I'm going to go that route. When I do this, I kind of like to, kind of pick a little off the board, meaning, not Nolan Arenado, Trevor Story, etc.
I generally do the same. Sometimes I have a couple things that I look for. I want opposite-handedness. I want the other starting pitcher to have a relatively poor home run rate.
Yep.
It rarely has a lot to do with like Tyler O'Neill, for example, grades out really high in my home run model. He's a guy that I don't have at all. So,
well, the price jumped a ton from what it was on Friday.
So if you're curious, Luke Duda is 27th in my home run model for today. That's good. It's very good.
All right, lucky number 27. There we are. Let's see here. I was on the show, so I will be updating the projections over there on FanVice. We're migrating everything to Awesemo.com tomorrow. Yep. So the cutover is happening, peeps. So for those of you that are FanVice members, we will be honoring your remainder of your subscription at Awesemo.com. You should have received an email. So check that out. Otherwise, you can reach out to support at Awesemo.com. Yes. You're also getting a promo code for a discount depending on what type of subscription you have. If you want, I'm making this up as I go along. If you want to sign up for a full year, but you're just right now monthly or a sport, I bet if you reached out to support at Awesemo.com, they'll hook you up with the annual promo code. Yeah. So
we want people to be involved. We'll work. Exactly. We can try to work something out.
Exactly. So we're good. And we've got NFL in what, like 10 days?
Is that
soon. What we're down to?
It's so soon.
Oh, good times. I got 3 drafts tonight. 3.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know how that's going to work. I'm going to have to get 2 monitors and another computer next to me or something.
That's so many drafts. Are they all at the same time?
They will I will have 2 for the majority of the evening going. They're sequentially, but they're only one starts, goes for an hour, and then 2 start half hour apart after that.
Good luck with that.
I thought they were next weekend, so I haven't even really started looking at season-long stuff.
Oh, there you go. That's perfect. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, apparently Adrian Peterson needs to be in my thoughts, so we'll see what happens. And I only know that because I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, and hey, he very well could be the starting running back at this point for the fighting Dan Schneiders. All right, I'll let you get us on out of here. We've done all of our due diligence for the Awesemo Hour here.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. We had a really good turnout for a Sunday, so I'm happy. The transition is happening right now. Get ready for it, people. Everything is coming this week. Like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. All of the content is going to be there now. And if you were interested in our videos before, there are going to be a lot more moving forward. Be ready. I don't have anything else. Best of luck to everybody today. I hope that you're on the same people that I am so we can cheer for the same thing. Otherwise, I'm cheering against you. Sorry. Good luck, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.